All right, everyone. Now we've got a big win. Lyndon Baines Johnson passed an executive order many decades ago before most of us were born. I wasn't born for about 15 years after that or something. Executive order, basically enshrining affirmative action. Affirmative action is the idea that certain groups need to be uplifted and therefore other groups are automatically demoted. It is a wrong policy. It is anti-American. Lyndon Baines Johnson was a warmongering asshat, involved with Kissinger and stuff, and a fool, basically. By the way, after he left office, LBJ, he wandered off into the hinterlands, grew a beard, and went on his ranch and barely talked to the public anymore because he felt so guilty about the Vietnam War and its calamitous results. Which he deserved, actually, honestly. He was one of our worst presidents. Lyndon Baines Johnson passed an executive order enshrining affirmative action, de facto. Affirmative action, as I've explained before, though, is discriminatory, and here's how. I use this metaphor. I own a grocery store. I sell two kinds of bread. That's all that we sell. It's just the bread store. And there's only two varieties available because it's the fucking Soviet Union. Just kind of what affirmative action is, like a Soviet-era policy. And I decide to put up a bunch of placards and put on sale and promote one of those groups of bread. I am not saying that the other bread is bad. I'm not directly saying that you shouldn't buy the other bread. I'm simply promoting its competitor. And that's what people do. Content creators, everyone, banks, everything under the sun. We compete with one another. This is the essence of free market capitalism. And so if the government comes in with a policy promoting one group of people artificially, it is automatically demoting other competing groups of people, insofar as you can group them. Of course, I'm a rugged individualist, so I see it as person v. person versus group versus group. That being said, affirmative action does need to end. It's a bullshit policy. Donald Trump has now signed an executive order repealing affirmative action. This is already being litigated against, by the way, by the system. This is going to be one of his great battlefields of his presidency. I am hoping that he is successful. A business should be able to operate on a meritocratic manner. Now, that might mean that one business ends up with 90% black workers. Well, they happen to be qualified for the positions that they were attempting to qualify for. Yeah, I mean, it's almost homogenous, but, it doesn't really matter. They're doing their job. They're doing it well. Another business might be 90% white people. This business might have a bunch of women working there. That business might have a bunch of men working there. This business might find itself in a weird predicament where half of the population of their workforce is gay. Who cares? Age, race, ethnicity, gender, these things do not matter. What matters is that you're capable of doing the job. For example, let's say that I set up Stick, Saxon, Hammer Incorporated. I've got a factory. I need to hire 1,000 people. I am not going to hire you based on the color of your skin. It's never going to happen. I don't care what's dangling between your legs. I don't care who you want to fuck or how you want to fuck them, unless you're, perving on kids or animals or something like that. As long as it's consensual and stuff. Do you smoke weed? Yeah? Well, but you're a good engineer. I don't give a fuck. This is the way that capitalism operates. It operates on a meritocratic system, and it should only be meritocratic. The fact that liberals, for so many years, have conned people into believing that they're not racist especially, is very funny. Originally they said, well, we need to uplift the black man, teach him the Bible because he's a savage. Now they say, well, black people are disenfranchised. So they're not as smart as you. Not as smart as the white NIMBYist liberals. How very strange. You're making the same argument but with different words. I love spells, by the way. You may have noticed this. Linguistics is great. They're saying the same thing that they did for the last 150 years. It's just that they couch the language differently, and they, talk about having to uplift some minority group or something like that. Oh, those women, they really need our help. So in other words, you're admitting that women can't compete with men. That sounds a little bit sexist now, doesn't it? Other than in sports and physical things, women can outcompete men, generally speaking. I think most of the doctors that are being minted in our country now are female. There's probably a reason for that. No, you don't need to uplift anyone. You need to take your hands-off approach and just let meritocracy take the stead. But they won't let that happen because they want people to vote for them. That's basically all. They want their money and they want their votes. It's the same shit, different asshole sort of situation. Now, Donald Trump just kneecapped affirmative action. Now, the fact that there are now, I think as of last night, there were 10 already active legal cases against this executive order or something like that. It's phantasmagoric. It's insane. I think that he'll prevail, though. I think that obviously a president has the right to revoke an executive action from a previous administration. We've seen this happen over and over again. The fact that some private group would bitch about it means absolutely nothing for legal purposes. But then, we have seen the legal system is not necessarily a friend to Donald Trump, so we're going to have to see how it works out in the end. I support this. Affirmative action should be ended. It is absolutely pointless. At this point, decades and decades and decades after segregation has ended, women have gotten the vote, gay rights have been enshrined, there's no reason to actually have it. Forcing, especially in the federal workforce, employers to hire a certain number of X amount of people from different groups overlooks individuality. So again, you'll have a situation where you have a preferential hiring of some black dude whose parents are both heart surgeons, who comes from a family from the upper middle class, over some rural white person simply because they happen to be white, whose parents raised them in a trailer. This is affirmative action. It is discrimination by default. It's not because you're pushing somebody down. It's because in a competitive system, with workforce hiring and things like that, you're uplifting a group of people artificially, even though they often do not need it. If I was black or something like that, honestly, I would feel insulted by the white NIMBYist liberals. You come from a middle-class background or something, you're classically educated and stuff, you've got your degree, you're working hard, you're smart, you're hardworking, everything else under the sun. And then you're being told, well, we're hiring you for this position. But you realize that the reason that you were hired over that other guy is simply because you happen to be black. That's insulting. I mean, it would be the same as if I walk into a place and I get hired simply because I'm white or because I'm male. Now, look at my fucking qualifications, asshole. That's the reason I want you to hire me. Look at my sheet here, and it shows all of the work experience I've got and all of the extracurriculars and things like that. Same with college, same with education. It's exactly the same. Well, yeah, you got into Yale, but you didn't have a really good test score. Oh, we're mercy admitting you, basically. Goddamn insulting, actually, when you think about it. I have a feeling that this is one of the reasons why the Democrats are hemorrhaging minority voters. There's a reason for that, dudes. That's about all. Peace out.